Hey everybody, it's JT,
And Mike.
host of Brew Crime.
And we've got some exciting news for you.
Mark your calendars for July 12th to the 14th, 2024.
We're heading to the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival in Denver, Colorado, and you won't want to miss it.
Are you worried about costs? Fear not. This festival is designed with you in mind, an affordable experience without sacrificing quality.
There are no inflated costs, just a weekend packed with authenticity, education, and networking.
Now, have you ever wished for genuine one-on-one interactions with your favorite creators? Well, now's your chance.
Save 15% off your ticket prices by using the code BREWS at checkout.
You know, those things you need after listening to us for an hour? Well, at least me.
We hope to see you there and let them know.
Brew Crime sent you.
So head to truecrimepodcastfestival.com. Cheers. Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, mine disasters, or whatever catches your attention. This is Mike and my co-host,
JT. I was going to come
Look
up
at
with
that.
something interesting and just didn't feel right tonight. Not at all.
My.
I'm
Well,
incredibly tired.
that's no good.
Well, it's spring break for the kids, right? At least the older one. And so I figured he doesn't have to go to school in the morning. So we're gonna go watch a later showing of Kong X Godzilla in IMAX, which he loved.
That's good.
It was really, I mean, you know what you're going to get when you walk into those kind of movies, but I love when those movies make you just like involuntarily clap because you're so excited something happened. And that's how I judge those kind of movies. And I did it like 3 times where I just wanted to, yeah.
Okay, that's good because I saw the trailers and I'm like, uh.
I mean, if that's not your type of film, definitely wait till it streams because it really won't be that long, I'm sure. And it's really the first Godzilla movie I've seen in theaters since the one with oh shoot, with Hank Azaria, the one from like 2001 or
I
something.
probably saw it. I don't know. I
Oh, it's
saw
okay if you blocked it out of your mind, that's cool.
none of the American Godzilla movies really have caught my attention. I've watched them and I've been like, oh, okay.
I mean, yeah,
But
that's the thing, right? It's just a bunch of destruction.
yeah, like I went and
It's
saw
interesting.
Godzilla -1, the Japanese one, and holy
Yeah.
shit, that
Oh, I'm
is a
sure.
fucking phenomenal movie.
So like I think I started liking these movies because I did watch them with you know with my kiddo just to make sure that nothing was going on in them, which it's literally involuntary. It's just destruction. Like you don't even see people get hurt. But like I really
It's
wasn't
true.
interested until they started introducing the Hollow Earth. And once they started introducing Hollow Earth with like I can't remember what they call it, but like where King Kong came, all that stuff, it just got interesting to me. So, mhm,
Finally
mhm.
telling the truth now.
Right. But yeah, so between that and then the late night bowling when I took him bowling, in which he beat me in one game, bumpers help. Just like
Oh my.
I'm tired, man.
I believe it. All righty. Well, like I said, we're doing mine disasters, taking a little break from crime for a second because why not? It just a theme that caught my attention and kind of just sat on the back burner for a while and
Yeah.
we weren't sure what to do, so I said, "Okay, we'll do this one."
Yeah, and like I was thinking about mine disasters and I was like nobody wants to hear about those from college. And so I that's a terrible joke. All right, anyways, moving on. Um my story came as is coming out of West Virginia, which probably surprises nobody from the States because West
West
Virginia is huge.
Virginia,
Right,
country
Mountain Mama.
mama. Or Mountain Mama, that's it.
Take me home, country road. So I've titled this case number 6 and number 8, I prefer old number 7
Okay.
because number 6 and number 8 were the mines in question here. So there are
Ah.
very few things that I won't try. I usually say that I try everything at least twice. However, whether it's podcasts or networks or streams or
Yeah.
try everything twice. Um, with
Don't
that being
cross the
said,
streams.
you have no idea, but there is a joke like that in this script.
Uh-oh.
Um, you will never find me in an enclosed space. And I don't mean like a room or a box. I can get out of those. There's not really anything on top of me, at least nothing that I'm really, thinking about. But if you put me in a small location with tons and tons and tons of earth above me, I'm out. Like
Oh, you don't want to go for
immediately.
a mine tour?
So the very next line, the concept of underwater caving, exploring underground freaks me out.
Ah.
I will watch those shows and I can visibly I can see myself feel myself the anxiety just rising and
Yeah, just
rising and
rising and
rising.
rising.
So of course, when we started talking about doing mining disasters, my heart and bravery meant nothing any longer, and neither did my pants. Well, it mattered that I wore my brown pants to read up on this. So, not a
Oh
huge
crap.
fan. So I'm talking about the largest mining disaster in United States history, and that's number 6 and number 8 in Monongah, West Virginia.
That sounds made up.
Uh, it does,
Monongah.
doesn't it? So the more I read about this, the bigger the rabbit hole I found myself in, which wasn't a great idea since I was really behind on writing this. Even now, I'm wasting time, and now, and now as well. Um, it's a little meta scripting too. So let's just talk a little bit about the location, hit up what happened, why it happened, the aftermath. Monongah, West Virginia is located in Marion County, which is south central West Virginia. The Adena and Hopewell peoples dwelled in this area, but by the time white folks moved in, the population's thought to basically be a big goose egg of zero because of the Beaver Wars, which you really need context for that kind of a title. Um,
It sounds like something we should talk about.
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to provide you context. That's for
No.
you. The more you know. But yeah,
The Beaver Wars is both that, and there's probably got to be somewhere in California, there must be a war between like porn companies.
it's true. Okay, here, real quick. In the early 1640s, the war began in earnest with Iroquois attacks on frontier Huron villages along the St. Lawrence River, and I guess it continued on. The result was
It started
indecisive,
up in
which
Canada,
meant
I
that,
guess.
yeah,
Sounds like.
um, yeah, Ohio country. You get Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, those areas.
Huh.
Ohio's just kind of northern Kentucky now, and Kentucky's just West Virginia. So that's where we're at. Um,
Hmm.
so before it was Monongah, it was known as Briartown in 1886. And then it was later known as Camdensburg. A church in the town called Camdensburg defined Monongah as a new mining and coking town, which promises to be a place of some importance in a few years. And it was.
I've known some coking
Monongah was
towns.
right. Yeah, those coking towns, man.
Yeah,
I, I don't think that means what we think it means.
yeah. Hollywood, there's a coking town.
Oh, I did want to mention. Well, I'll mention in a second. Um, Monongah was officially chartered with that name in 1891. And there's not much more to say other than the fact that the populations wavered from as high as 2,084 in 1910 to as low as
Wow.
972 in 2020. And it has just this year is kind of estimated to be one of the ones where it goes up by a percentage or two, but mostly it's just been in decline. And that's almost to be expected. In
Yeah.
2000, the median income was 25,750 US dollars, which in 2023, that's 45,563. And that's not entirely bad, but we know that in 2000, in 2000 years, income has not matched the inflation of costs. So,
Oh God, no.
so it's not good. It's not good. And that assumes that they have a job. And I mean, coal is still going on, but not the same.
Yeah, it's definitely not the same as it used to be.
Correct. And so, the because there were two mines and they were connected, and we'll get into that in a little bit. I drank the beer early. I drank it last night. But it was
Oops.
called Rainbow Connection and it was an IPA, but it had guava and pineapple and it was literally the least harsh IPA I've ever had and it was so good.
Nice.
It'd be helpful if I could remember who did Rainbow Connection. Beals. Beals Rainbow Connection.
Mm,
It's an IPA, it's New England hazy. Yes, okay, so here's the flavors: orange, pineapple, peach, and guava. It is very, very
sounds
good.
good.
Yeah. So moving back, now that I've whiplashed you back and forth between things, um, talking about coal mining, the industry continues to this day. As of 2023, in West Virginia, there are just over 10,000 people working in underground coal mines, which is actually 25% of the total number of miners employed throughout the United States. So that's all.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. Um, while coal mining has changed, what hasn't is the design of the mines, which is really hard to think about considering in 1900 versus now.
Yeah, you'd think
Um,
it'd change a little bit. Maybe some safety standards.
oh, we'll get there. So the 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 deepest are shaft mines, accessible by elevator, can descend 200 feet or deeper, with some as deep as like 1,000 to 2,000 feet. And in the early 1900s, they actually wouldn't let members of the same family on the elevator at the same time because if something happened, which was possible, they didn't want two family members killed.
Yeah,
So
it makes
that's
sense.
that's a great vote of confidence, I think. Um, if you told me that, I'd be like, I'm gonna go shine some shoes now.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm gonna do something else. But then you go outside and there's no other work probably for men.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, very little. Unless you were a carpenter or could work some trade for the mining company. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably not.
100%. But
Um,
you'd probably still be underground in danger.
right. Well, oh,
You
yeah,
know.
or next to it, which in the case of one of these guys, he was.
Okay.
So number 6 and 8 mines. These mines are called slope mines. So this is kind of traditionally what we see in like cartoons and stuff. They're slanted tunnels dug into the outer rock to reach the underground coal. It typically begins at the bottom of valleys where coal is closer to the surface, but even though it's closer to the surface, it doesn't mean that it's safer.
Yeah,
Um,
no.
because primarily of how they collected it, and they collected it via room and pillar mining. So in this mining, seams of coal are partially mined. They leave pillars intact that hold up the overlaying ceiling of rock. So that it creates structural support in the mine while they extract other pockets of coal. Now, once it's mined from the seams, they do what they call retreat. So as they're pulling back and out, they pull whatever coal they can from the pillars before allowing them to collapse. So, that sounds terrible.
Interesting. Yeah,
Um,
sounds kind of creepy.
right? The miners at that point would use picks to carve slices from the bottom of the seams. They'd create a small opening where coal could drop. Space was really tight in the tunnels, so miners primarily hunched over to work and even crawled on their sides at times.
Mm,
In one
Jesus.
interview, a former miner, Paul Rakes, said that he spent most of his days working in seams that are less than 45 inches high.
No
No
thanks.
thanks. Not even once. And like you're thinking about that small space, and then I'm also thinking about the 1900s and what was in the air and how concentrated that must have been in those small spaces. And yeah.
Yeah, it was bad, I'm sure.
Um, so once picking was complete, they used auger drills on the face of the seams to bore holes, and then they'd put black powder in, and then they'd hold that in place with clay plugs, and then they'd ignite the powder. And, quote, if all went well, the explosion would blast coal from the seam, and then they'd shovel it into the mine cars.
Oh, okay. Sounds safe. Yep.
The the issue for number 6 and number 8 is that there were like geological complications with the makeup of that seam, which was the Pittsburgh seam of coal, which ran forever and ever into Pittsburgh. Um, so the issue with that is that it has large quantities of methane gas,
Mm-hmm.
which is odorless and tasteless and super combustible.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
so there's that. And if the miners didn't plug up the black powder well enough, it would blast powder back into the room, which is what they call a blown out shot. Um, so if there's any methane present, the blown out shot could blow everything up.
Not concerning at all.
Um, no, not at all. Now, what what they say is that even though this is something like this, these things happen, it rarely leads to a disaster of the kind that happened in number six and number eight. In fact, I kind of myself sway away from this being a possibility of what happened. So, but the bottom line is because of what happened, there was possible methane, coal dust, black powder in the air. And these two mines were the perfect reason of why the phrase canary in a coal mine was created.
Hmm.
Because they truly like miners would bring canaries in, right? And if the canary died, because you don't wait for the canary to make a noise. If the canary died, get the hell out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Makes sense to me. It's
Um,
kind of cruel, but it makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. Poor canary.
What did it do to them?
It, that's a good question. So Friday, December 6th, 1907, a massive explosion came from that area around 10:30 a.m. People heard the blast from everywhere. They felt the tremors. There was a carpenter, Hire Stallnaker. I think it's Stallnaker. He was working at a carpentry shop near the mines, like outside of the mines. He heard the explosion. Once he heard it, he rushed to the front door. When he hit the front door, he was blown back immediately by a force that was so strong it blew out all the windows of his shop and knocked all the drills and tools to the ground.
God.
So, and not only that, but, and I'm pretty sure it's him, but he went outside and a secondary blast threw two things into his like ankles and broke them. So this was insane.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it.
Yeah. And so I mentioned this before, but number six and number eight mines are unique in that they're separate, but they're connected and
Hmm.
they're connected by ventilation. And so the miners walked along the West Fork River. They walked down to the entrances into the pitch black of the mines. And it's important to know that these mines were super successful. The two mines alone brought out 2,500 tons of coal daily,
Holy shit.
right? Both of these mines, along with many others, were owned by the Consolidation Coal Company, which was the largest mining conglomerate in the world. There was a miner down there, J.H. Leonard. He was monitoring 19 cars as they were being pulled by like a wire rope from the number six mine. And on those 19 cars was almost 38 tons of coal. And everything was fine until an iron coupling pin snapped. If you've got an iron coupling pin and it snaps, chances are you probably shouldn't have loaded it that much.
Yeah, it sounds pretty
But
heavy.
yes. So, but then again, it could have been used for a long time and it just gave way.
Yeah, 100%.
So the coupling pin snapped, cars went rushing backwards uncontrolled. Whether coincidence or cause, there was not too much after that, a massive explosion, and the front of number eight mine was on fire. David McAteer, who was a federal mine regulator during the 1990s, said, quote, explosive forces rocketed out of the mine like blasts from a cannon. The forces shredding everything in their path. And just to give you some examples of that, there was a wooden board that had the miners' names on them. So when they went into the mine, they put the thing up, it said that they were there, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that was absolutely shredded. It was destroyed. There was nothing left of it, which is one of the main reasons why we're not quite sure how many people were in there.
That's not dicey at all.
No, right? Yeah. So it's a little dicier. um, so again, flying debris was everywhere. The explosion was so strong that a 15-year-old boy was launched 500 yards out of the mine and into the river.
Holy shit.
And just for reference, a football field is 100. So five of
Yeah.
those.
Well, an American football field is 100. See if I was
Okay.
110.
Okay, well, listen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so like the blast was strong enough to rip out a 10-ton, 30-foot tall fan positioned outside of number 8 from the concrete that was used to keep it in place.
Oh,
And this was bad for a number of reasons. One, there was no toxic air being pushed out, and there certainly was no clean air getting into the mine, and they were entombed. And so, if they even survived the blast, they were stuck in there with that air content that could not be fixed.
yeah.
The company closed the mines in the local area, the other ones, and they ended up getting around 20,000 miners to be sent for like a rescue operation, but that's not exactly helpful because it was too late. They basically ended up having to recover bodies rather than rescue them. And we're talking bodies that are charred. I mean,
Yeah.
just, yeah. I mean, what you think, but worse. While the number's been reported as high as 500, it was settled that around 361 coal miners were pronounced dead. This is really difficult to determine, though, because the company brought on off the books workers. A good chunk of those miners were immigrants. Some of them
Yeah.
were U.S. citizens, some of them were not. Miners brought their kids to help out, like the 15-year-old. The records aren't complete. And so
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, it's really unfortunate.
And I'm guessing that state probably does not have very strong union laws or unions.
West Virginia, yeah, but this was 1900, so
Well, I mean, there
uh,
was unions back then too, but
whatever it was, they didn't. It wasn't enough.
yeah.
Because there really wasn't anything to bounce off of anybody. They didn't really have too much in the way of mining reform at that point, and I'll explain that in a second. So, of course, the tragedy wasn't just in the mine. By the end of this, there were around 216 women widowed and 475 children left without a father, and 31 children born without a father after the explosion.
Oof.
McAteer, again, he said out of the 30 houses on one block, 27 didn't have a man left in them. Just gone.
That's wild.
Yeah, what's insane is that there were so many bodies that the undertakers in the city ran out of coffins. So, yeah. So in terms of theories about what happened, there are a lot of them, but nobody could ever seem to agree. This was the early 1900s, kind of hard, but at the same time, you also have a company that relies on the fact that it wasn't their fault, and
Yep.
since you can't prove it, you can only go with what they say. So, one of the theories said that the runaway coal cars in number 6 tore down electric power lines, creating sparks which ignited methane gas or coal dust. Um, One said that it originated in mine number 8 because of improperly packed black powder shots. The president of the coal company, who we can obviously trust, said that it was due to a coal dust explosion. The official report, though, from the same company of which he was the president, said that the explosion was a blown out shot. The West Virginia Department of Mines attributed the cause to the quantity of coal dust in the air. Now, the best guess and the one that I tend to agree with is that, and I agree with it with everything that I've said. It backs this up. Methane gases were mixed with coal dust, and that was kicked up by the crashing coal cars. There was a single spark, which could have been from the coal cars, or it could have been contact with an open flame on a miner's lamp. That would have set it the F off, like
Yeah, hell yeah.
without a problem. And because the tunnels were connected, even though that's not exactly encouraged, the blast traveled from one mine to the next, killing every miner. So it doesn't matter where it originated because they were connected and everybody was hit.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So in short, and you talked a little bit about this, but despite the deaths of over 300 men, federal safety precautions were not legislated until 1969, following another mine explosion resulting in 78 deaths. And then it took another 8 years for the Mine Safety and Health Administration to be formed. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until 1977 that they passed the Mine Act, which there were two key stipulations that they enforced. Underground mines must conduct 4 safety inspections every year, and mine rescue teams are required for all underground mines. But uh, you know, I'll be honest, 4 days out of the year is not enough regarding inspections.
No.
um, like it's kind of easy to fudge 4 days.
That's kind of thing. Like there should be almost daily inspections. Like so
It's like,
dangerous.
oh shit, it's coming up. Let's polish it, you know? All of a sudden the coal's sparkling. It's just like, wait, what?
Why do you have diamonds all of a sudden?
Right. We're the seven dwarves. So there was a relief committee that was set up to give aid to those impacted, which was and everybody. Other
Yeah.
folks that assisted actually included Andrew Carnegie, believe it or not, who had something called the Hero Fund, so that those funds went to people who were impacted.
Hmm.
The Red Cross also dispatched a rep to help gather information on the survivors. You know, overall, it's safe to say that there's never going to be a conclusion as to how this happened. And I am most inclined to believe the best guess that I mentioned above regarding methane gases mixed with coal dust ignited from a spark or a flame when the 19 carts crashed. But here's the thing. While the loss would have been massive, it wouldn't have nearly been the number it ended up being in regards to those who died if the mine never connected those two shafts.
Yeah.
And I said I had one of these lines in here. Don't play swords with shafts letting them cross. Just
Oh.
don't.
Yeah.
So it puts both mines at risk. And
Don't cross the coal streams.
don't cross the coal streams. This is the part that'll get you flaming. After the flaw was brought forward with the mines being connected, the Fairmont Coal Company still didn't disconnect the mines at all.
Wow.
They left it.
Of course. Profits.
Right. And so in addition to that connection, other problems included the use of mechanical and electrical equipment shouldn't have been done, and a failure to adequately water hallways in order to settle dust or even install more adequate dust removal systems. So, in short, this was depressing. But
Yeah.
now we know, and knowing history and appreciating it and digesting it is how we avoid repeating it, unless you're a big corporation that doesn't give a shit. So,
Yes, exactly. And we all
number
know
six
big
and number eight.
corporations are just really nice people.
Yeah, and I will say this, I didn't bring this into it, but the was it the mayor? The mayor, the governor, I think it was the mayor, wrote to different cities saying that 500 or 600 people died and like 400 widows were left and we need your money. And he was literally grifting off of this. So opportunistic people made out. Just
Wow.
just really crappy people. Tragedies can either bring people together or really expose the knuckleheads.
Shite.
Yep. The detritus. Is it
Okay.
detritus? I think that's the right word.
Yeah, I think so.
But yeah, that's my case, and I'm interested to hear yours.
Woohoo. Well, that'll be next week.
That's next week. So I can't wait to hear it next week.
You're going to hear it right away because
I
that's how this
I don't know what
works.
you're talking about. Oh, so now that I've brought you that wonderful, uplifting story, go forth. Go forth and don't cross your coal seams.
Thanks for tuning in to Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime the Group. If you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. The money goes towards upgrading equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. So shout out to our Patreon supporters, True Crime Nana, Three Beers In Podcast, and the Faves of Our Lives. And I almost forgot to mention, there is also another way to support us. You can go to Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker.com. That's our host. And they have a supporter tier now. So if you want to go there, you can support us on that. And you'll get all of the same content as Patreon, just not ad free. It's cheaper though. We've set the value a little lower just because that's not something that Spreaker has set up. But yeah, you got two options to support us if you'd like.
Yee, do it.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
We dig in the mine the whole day through. Dig is what we like to do.
All cases in Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution licensed audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
If you like weird, spooky, and strange history, then I have the podcast for you. My name is Brenda, and I'm the host of Horrifying History. Are you into the dark side of history? Horrifying History tells you about the side of history that people don't normally talk about. We tell the tales of haunted places, infamous true crimes, the paranormal, and unsolved mysteries, and then we look to history to see where the truth actually lies. Want to get spooky with us? Get your Horrifying History fix by subscribing today on Spotify, Spreaker, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.